into it? Kalau daripada 20, we have 21 public, 20 public universities, and also we have 1 clusters of polytechnics, right? How do you think where we are now, actually?
Where we are, goodbye.
Why do you say that? Are we? I will have some questions later for you.
Number 1 is infrastructure. Number 2
is the infrastructure.
Staff still 3.0, 4.0. Yeah. Number 3, definitely leadership. Leadership.
Okay. Don't elaborate further. You reserve it for the audience. Okay, Cik Nazri, what is your take? How do you see, especially you being in Singapore, in terms of readiness, Malaysian universities among the 20 public universities?
I think
so far,
my response to it is of course there's the segmentation between private and public university, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So public university and private university have their own challenges. Some are common, some are unique, and of course one of the things is always about what you asked me earlier about the ROI. So sometimes the leadership cannot see or cannot feel the ROI of any AI-based initiative. So then that depends on what is the model that comes along with it to deliver the respective ROI. And that model is then dependent on the scenarios of what the economy is going to be, the COVID scenario is going to be. So everything is all interconnected in a very fuzzy way. So the ROI can be a moving target these days as compared to, let's say, when you developed 3 years ago. So unless you pivot, you revamp, you refine, you review your strategies and make your structure nimble and adaptable, then the ROI will become visibly understood. And that forms the basis of my presentation later.
That's good, yeah, thank you. I have Prof. Sailesh from India. He was in during the first episode. Prof. Can they hear us?
Good morning, Prof.
Good morning. How are you, Dr. Sailesh?
I am fine.
Hi. Yeah.
Good morning to everyone here.
Good morning, Dr.
Yes,
Sailesh Sharma.
Yes.
Morning.
So how's the weather there in India?
Actually, it's very hot, 40-degree Celsius temperature, slightly ease in lockdowns. And universities still, I think, by September only they will open it.
Right. So you are also I think in India to go online is not a problem. Is it a problem also? Is it a challenge? Because you're quite a big country in a way.
It is big challenge actually, because our Indian faculty members, they are not trained to do so. Even as I will tell you that I learned this how to use Moodle in University Malaya when I was there. When I started training it there, they felt it challenging because still the universities are not equipped. Even I was surprised to see that my son also is in his final year of graduation. Tomorrow is going to complete his final year. That is in universities, how they are teaching online. They are keeping a blackboard and just focusing camera on that.
Good, great.
And day before yesterday, it was from Ministry of Human Resources Development here that traditional way is better than online way. That was there.
Since we have 2 more minutes before 11, okay, Dr. Saleh, since you are in India, okay, when I was in India, when I talked to the SMEs of the technologies, okay, it seems that those AI companies, new technologies companies, to them, they are ready in terms of developing the tools, the system, but their predicament is that the SMEs there are not able to adopt the new technology simply because of the cost. Is that true?
The cost is very high actually. If we see, there are so many platforms now in India, and when they come up with the cost, actually it is there. Whether it is I'm talking about from the perspectives of private university where we work. When it comes to technology, adoption of any technology, then in order to adopt that technology, we have to charge students 5 times fees.
Oh, okay.
Fees is already higher. While in public universities, the biggest problem is there that their 80% of budget goes for the salaries.
Yeah.
Then and fees is very nominal. I think in some universities it is 100 rupees. I think equivalent to 4 or 5 ringgit per month. That is biggest challenge there. Yeah, there are some top business school, private universities which have excellent infrastructure. They have.
Great, great. Yeah. So nice to have you. Welcome back to this second episode. Yeah. Okay, we have 2 more episodes, so we hope you can stay tuned.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your support, Dr. Silage.
Welcome.
Right. Okay. Mr. Nazri, are you there? You ready? So can we?
I'm okay.
Right. Okay.
Shall we start?
Right. Can we start now? Yeah. Okay. I think audience will continue to join in later, staggeredly. Okay. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone, to all audience, and also to our FB followers. Okay, so we have a very consistent and permanent followers to this to both FBs of the MyFinB and also the UMK official FB. So to this series of webinar on AI in higher education. Yeah. So just to recap before we move on to this episode, okay, the first episode we have 2 panels, okay, Mr. Nazri being the permanent panel will partner with Dato Azizi, who have mentioned and who have discussed quite thoroughly and overarching what will be the new landscape for higher educations in adopting the new technologies such as an AI, right? So there are various parameters that needs to be laid out from the policy to up to the drivers for the new technology to be executed, yeah? While Mr. Nazri in the first episode have mentioned the historically how the policymakers and educators can actually be involved, yeah, in the AI adoptions, and as well he has mentioned about what are the possibilities and what are the programs and how AI can actually not to say replace, okay, it just like equates to the human intelligence, okay, in monitoring, in teaching and learning, in assessing the students' capability, and also in making decisions to assist the top management in the education industry. And so this, what we expect is that the future higher educations will be more robust, yeah, more integrated, more technology savvy, and to ensure the efficiency and effectiveness of the education as the public community to serve the rakyat or to the students and the people. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, okay, in this second episode, yeah, the panel will discuss, okay, to reiterate from the first episode, we discuss a very important and relevant topic, I'm sure, to all the strategies and to all the implementers. The topic will be on innovative approaches for crafting, for designing AI strategies. Yeah. So together with Mr. Nazri today, so we have our guest panel, Professor Dr. Muhammad Sabri Muhammad, the Director of Institute for Artificial Intelligence and Big Data of University Malaysia Kelantan. Prof, selamat datang, and we are honored to have you in this second episode. So, Mr. Nazri, welcome back. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Professor.
Prof Sabri, yeah, you are being a professor, being an educator, being a specialist in the AI. When we talk about AI strategy, yeah, it's actually a roadmap or a road plan for the adoption of AI, machine learning, as well as data analytics and other forms of new technologies So I believe, right, the AI strategy, just like other strategy, yeah, it needs to define what we call the AI priorities, the goals, the milestones, and the vision and the mission as well. Yeah. So Prof. Sabri, I think you would like to share with us, okay, how the higher education institutions can design their AI strategies and what are the process which involved in implementing those strategies. Over you, Prof. Sabri.
All right. Thank you very much to very nice moderator, Prof. Roslina. So I would like to share the point and descriptions about the topic today. So I think better we show slide. Yeah. All right, next.
Next, can you move the slide? Yeah.
So previous one. Yeah. Okay. Generally, before we make the policy or direct or standard or task force, we should clear in higher education actually what kind of model or what is our future directions for higher educations. So from my observation, I found that there are 4 models as stated by UNESCO Future Educations. The first model, traditional, we call as traditional, the green color, means that no change, still with conventional approach, teach students for one job, one career, and accreditation based on grade accreditation. So I think this is conventional approach. Number 2, marginal change, new course aligned to the element of IR 4.0. A lot of Malaysian university, I think, in the category of number 2. And then number 3, adaptive change, minimum number of physical university. Now many Malaysian university towards the number 3. Also platform, non-traditional degree, and student more flexible for teaching and learning, and many things be based on digital approach. But I think finally, we go to the nano or micro certification, means that number 4 model, radical change. This is a forecasting from the UNESCO for future study. So I collect the information from the article from them. And then what is a radical change university model? So we must clear our direction first before we decide the policy and everything. So radical change actually no university. So means that, let's say I want to study big data. I select which expert I would like to study from Cambridge or maybe from Harvard. So I take the course with them. So it is based individual and also organizations, but no more Bachelor of IT, Bachelor of Data Science, no more. We study by our interests and our intentions. So radical, they call as radical change model, number 4, orange color. So nano, micro, in the easy language, we always talk about modular professional module, actually nano or micro certification. So we select, and majority of the approach based on AI. So AI will respond student question and answer. AI will conduct teaching in the class. Who designed the AI? We are human, design the AI. So no worry about the robots, AI control the world. No, I don't think so. Because we can design the AI for intelligent system, expert system, or robotics to replace the lecturer. Actually, they replace not the 100%. Because in the radical change, we should go for attachment. Attachment for 6 months in Harvard, or maybe we go to Princeton University. Maybe 6 months or 1 year, depends. So actually, when I compare to the Islamic education, they call as talaki and mushafaka. Talaki and mushafaka, this one is practiced since hundreds of years ago. Many Muslim scholars practice this approach. So I think nano or micro certification model is future directions. And that one reflect to the talaki and mushafaka in in the philosophy of Islamic education. I think we should clear in this part. After that, okay, next one. After that, after we define the goal, our directions, we go for AI policy. Malaysian Ministry of Higher Education, I recommend please establish AI policy in the higher education level so that university have the guideline how to develop the system, how to make the governance, etc., etc. So AI policy actually the guidance for us to make decision in order to achieve rational purpose. We try to maximize the benefits and at the same time try to optimize the cost and reduce the risk. So there are 10 categories for AI policy. So governance, basic and applied research, talent, future of work skill, etc., etc., ethic, regulation, and foreign policy. If I talk in this slide, maybe take 1 or 2 hours. So AI policy clear cut, the guidance for all university. Once we have the AI policy, university just study the guideline, the policy, and make the implementation in the university. But now, University A, they have their own approach to implement the AI solution. University B using another approach. So no standard, no policy. So after we establish the policy in the Malaysian higher education level, we should go for standard. I think next slide, please. So we call as AI standard. AI standard for what? To support the reliable, robust, and trustworthy. So why we need the AI standard? From our historical last time, university, IT university faced a lot of problems. Integration system, interoperability, connectivity, making a lot of things. We got the face of problems. Because of that, when we trace back why the problem happens in a lot of university, because of no AI standards. Standard will guide us. They have rules so that all vendors, government agency, and even the university should follow the standards. Otherwise, otherwise we repeat the same problems. So now US and China this year we launched the China AI standards. This year, American US last year the president of Trump instructed the federal agency to establish the standard. Why the biggest 2 countries focus for the standard? Because they want to make standardized and easy for them to implement AI. So in the stage of Malaysian higher education, they actually, I prefer, please establish AI standard so that university can follow the instructions, vendor also can follow the guideline, everything. Yeah, there are 8 standards as we can read on the slide: concept, data and knowledge, human interaction, safety, risk management, and the last one, trustworthiness. All the components, yeah, should be clearly decided in the standard. So, all right, next. After we have the policy and also standard, so in the national higher education level, I also recommend they should have National Center of AI. This National Center of AI actually as AI National Reference Center. Reference center, not doing the R&D, blah, blah, but reference center, so that this center can coordinate all the implementation in the university levels, private or maybe, private and public university. So in the center, we should set up a steering committee, scientific advisory board, consortium of AI, and the most important part, we must get involved the junior leader. Because if we go for senior leader make the decision in the national level, I think we avoid the young voice. Young leader, we must take care of your voice because we are different generations. for my experience also, I got a lot of experience when I asked the young generation A, young generation B, they giving different perspective, but definitely very good. The point, when I asked the senior people, different answer from there. I think young leaders should be get involved in the committee and steering committee or board, something like that. Otherwise, we can get single voice only. Okay, next. And then this one also quite important for leadership, because we have leadership not in the background of AI. Definitely, they have difficulty to understand, difficulty to study. Yeah, usually there are problems. The first one, misconceptions of technical details, less exposure of AI-based technology, critical shortage of leadership, etc., etc. So we try to propose framework for higher education for leadership, so that they have personal effectiveness in AI concept, leading others in terms of AI, cognition based on AI, and everything, achievement and action based on AI. Once leaders have the framework and know how to apply the framework, it is easy for them to implement in the university level. And now people can talk, oh, I want to implement AI, I want to apply AI, but how? Leadership is very important to understand. They no need to go in deep to understand the technical aspect, but general concept, at least they should know. Otherwise, very difficult to make the decision, because AI can represent for whole campus, whole university. So that one we already submit for one proposal to the ARCAP in order to get the grants, and we try to propose to them so that we try to implement for all university in Malaysia. All right, next. Finally, after we have policy, after we have a standard, national center, and also the last one. So all the initiative from Malaysian higher education should be cascade down to university level. So the dotted box, the right dotted box, actually represent for university. In the I think on the slide we not display all. The lowest layer is AI infrastructure, infrastructure. AI infrastructure, they should have the high-speed bandwidth, cloud, computing capacity, and also cybersecurity. This is infrastructure for AI, basic infrastructure. University that would like to implement the AI, compulsory to fulfill this infrastructure. And the next layer, AI infrastructure, that one contains two components, two main components. The first one is AI platforms and also big data platform. There are many AI platforms, but I just put the top 4 from the review 2020, the top 4 of AI platform. We can use Google AI, TensorFlow, Azure, and also Watson, IBM. Big data also, definitely, we should have the platform. But now in Malaysia, I don't know how many universities have the AI platform or big data platforms, but I hope they have. But if they don't have, better they should start from now on. Okay, after we have the AI infrastructure and also AI infrastructure, we can go to the AI applications. AI applications, some people will call as AI solution, blah, blah, blah. So we go to we can apply to the component of university, academic, research, development and innovations, library, teaching and learning, registrar, bursary, student affairs and development office. So we apply this solution of AI to the component of university so that we can get a whole ecosystem. So, and finally, university must establish one committee we call as AI University Committee. And the chair, I think better Vice Chancellor should be chair for the committee. Because of what? Because this committee cover all university, not only academic, but including the research, library, bursary, registrar, and everything. So NC have authority to cover all, rather than we appoint one deputy vice chancellor, academic, for example. They very excel in academic part, but what happened to the registrar part and everything? So this is how to implement the AI for university. They should have AI infrastructure, application, and definitely university committee, so that we can adapt, easy to make decision based on the policy standard from the Ministry of Higher Education. All right, thank you very much.
Is that all the slides? Okay, all right, wonderful, Prof. Sabri. So basically from your presentations, you have given us the framework of how to design and implementing AI at the universities, yeah? So it needs to, I mean, every stakeholders within the universities has to contribute in terms of their role, from the policymakers up to the down till the owners like teachers, and also of course the important part is the ICT resources, the human resources. Okay, right. So Prof. Sabri has given us the framework of how we should plan or design the strategic AI. Okay, now turn to you, Mr. Nazri. Okay, you being the practitioner, yeah, and being involved in developing AI strategies and also AI systems. Okay, so I'm sure you can share with us, okay, the innovative approach in AI strategies. Okay, for example, like the COE models. Okay, how can you think? How can it ensure the AI strategies, okay, can be actually adopted by the university? What would be the models, the best model for the universities to adopt, and what would be the short-term and long-term gains? Mr. Nazri, please. We can't hear you, Mr. Nazri.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we've learned quite a bit on how Professor Sabri shared with us the models, the frameworks, the components that need to exist in a university. So I feel that the combination of what the academia and the private sector have to offer will be a big boost to how universities can innovate, and even us, private sector, can learn a thing or two from the academia side on what are the components that need to exist. So our approach today is to explain about the 3S, right? Strategy, structures, and sustainability model of a COE and a Center of Excellence. In this regard, we basically cover 4 parts, okay? And first part is to recap episode 1. For those who missed episode 1, I would like to take a slide or 2 about what will be important for us to consider moving into implementation and designing the right strategy. So part 2 will be putting everybody in a level playing field in a simplified way, the types of centers of excellence, and the key strategies that need to be implemented or thought of carefully. We call it the 5 drivers, okay? And part 3 will be the implementation components. Like this is where we're going to revisit the 4x4x4 matrix and how we can carry out, universities can carry out activities underneath the Center of Excellence, under the ambit of that, and incorporating some of the elements that Prof. Sabri mentioned earlier, right? The infrastructure and the what do you call that? All the non-infrastructure matters like the contents and the infrastructure and infrastructure, right? And part 4 will be that since the launch of our Center of Excellence in AI Innovation, called CAI, since June last year, June 2019, what was the impact? What was the ROI? What was the attainment of innovation and financial milestones that we achieved? So this becomes like a real model for us to
incorporate. Now, there will never be a one-size-fits-all model. So, like I said, it's good to explore the different components, the commonalities, and the unique situation that each university may face. Now, recapping some of the things that were shared before, we believe that universities, although there will be a very narrow theme about whether what COE it will be, but whatever COE you will be, you have to do a multi-sector approach, because the current situation, the new normal, the new world order, everything is moving so fast. So if you stick to one particular industry, right, you'll be left behind on the other aspects which are interchangeable, which are interconnected. As you know, economy is all integrated. You cannot focus on agriculture and then not forgetting and still forgetting the manufacturing, the logistics, and so on. So the telco, so all are interrelated, and we have to live with that for a very, very long time moving forward. In fact, it's going to be a permanent structural change where each sector are highly integrated with the others, as what the COVID effects have shown. And because of the impact that we see of AI on multiple sectors, McKinsey has estimated the impact through AI across sectors to be globally about 3.5 to 5.8 trillion US dollars, right? And there are specific priorities, of course. We can't do all at one go, but there should be a milestone or roadmap, right, to tackle each primary and secondary industry in your area of focus. So hence, in a COE, in a university setting, you got to have interdisciplinary approach, and you've got to involve various faculties, various schools to work together to contribute towards their respective segments or sectors. And in this way, the impact can be felt more. Now, the perception is that if you do a multi-sector approach, right, the perception is that you will lose focus. You will not have enough resources. You will basically not having enough competencies. So the question here is, how do you fill up the gaps? How do you actually make sure that the resources that you don't have, you can get it from a PPP model, public-private partnership model. So you can't do everything yourself, right, within a university, but you can collaborate with industries, with NGOs, with student bodies, with various specialized group or professional groups to contribute towards the attainment of the goals on a multi-sector approach. So I'll go deeper into this shortly. Now, very ambitious to do all this? Well, again, that depends on the scenarios of the COVID recovery, right? So if you expect the scenarios to be very steady, okay, like in a scenario 3, right, then you can basically pace your budget, resources, whatever you planned before, okay, and currently you can implement it in stages in a predictable manner under scenario 3. Okay, but if it's a scenario 1, when you are planning to carry out your implementation of your COE, but then there's a lot of peaks and troughs, right? Hit a high, new high, hit a new low, hit a high, hit a low, right? So it becomes a very volatile environment. So your plan of implementing COE has to be more adaptable throughout time. Your stamina, you cannot be a cheetah, but you have to be what you call a wild dog, right? Or what you call that, basically the animals that have a lot of stamina, especially the panther, lioness or something like that, right, in the jungle. But in a scenario where in the middle one, where things that we don't expect, Murphy's Law, it really happened in a spike way, then we have to have a lot of contingency plan before the improvement can happen. Okay, so just to be clear, for those universities that have not implemented any COE, it's just to be having level definition of this. It's a body in an organization that works across business unit. It sits in the organization. It brings out the knowledge and competency in specific areas and focus. And you must have obviously the talents to instill, curate knowledge and disseminate knowledge within the organization and across best practices to the external world. Okay, and here we can see that there are 4 main types of COEs globally, right? So let me explain briefly. Best practice centers looks at what other organizations are doing, the top MNCs, the best agencies, the best universities are doing, and then we learn, we share, we collaborate, right? So this is about whoever has implemented something well, how do we implement it at our end? How do we share? How do we collaborate? The second COE, which relates to DevOps centers, relate to more of a shared outsourcing model. So it provides a service to organizations internally and externally in terms of, let's say, it's a COE to deliver MIS, Management Information Systems, right, ICT or marketing, right, or HR, right? So it becomes like an outsource center to develop and carry out the operational needs of organizations internally and externally. So item 2 is relating more towards the business as usual. I'm going to help you. I'm going to achieve better productivity. I'm going to lower your costs, but I'm going to just take a fraction of the cost, or take a fraction of your cost and deliver it for you as what you've done before, but you'll be at lower cost, higher productivity. So that's the purpose of COE in terms of DevOps in a nutshell. Competency centers relates to, obviously, let's say we talk about reskilling, upskilling across 10 sectors. So you are relooking at the processes, the framework of carrying out a specific competency. So again, our episode that talks about reskilling, upskilling, for example, the adoption of digital skills, the need for 5 types of analytical big data skills that are needed by employees to reskill. And for those business owners that never gone digital, never gone e-commerce, how do you upskill yourself, right, to carry out new method of doing things, right? And this talks about building the competency, getting accreditation, getting certification, right? Carrying out capacity building, to various small, medium-sized enterprise as well as agencies. So it's again about fitting yourself, filling the gaps, and equipping yourself with the right skills for the current and the future. The last one is where I'm most interested in, the Innovation Center. This is no longer business as usual. This is challenging the status quo. This is challenging the normal ways of doing things. This is disrupting things, right? So there are 4 known or already clear segments of how COEs are being built. And that, of course, relates to the question that one of the delegates was asking: how can you standardize AI policy when the different categories of university research, level of depth and breadth and all that? And exactly, it's a good question. And herein we look at, again, what is the policy that Prof. Sabri was mentioning, and what's the strategy, and what's the focus of the COE that you want to build? What are you trying to address? What is the pain point? Is it a productivity issue? So if it's a productivity issue, DevOps centers would be something that is a very immediate in the short to medium term, right? And when you talk about, let's say integrated reporting, new standards, new, policies regarding a certain measure, right? Then best practice centers would be something that you want to go through with everybody, right? And share and learn experience, case studies, use cases, and all that. A lot of sharing, a lot of experience sharing, right? So, but if you want to disrupt, you want to create a new blue ocean strategy, you want to be the first mover, then definitely you need to have an innovation center, a center that really focus on challenging the status quo with technology such as AI, right? And on this part, maybe at this stage, Misa, can you control the screen? I find this slide to be very simplified, but yet very comprehensive. There are 5 very important factors to ensure that you can carry this out very well. Okay, and we feel that this is an important part, okay, for organizations to consider before they implement. Okay, so if you look at the screen carefully, there are 5 components, right? And the first one is the delivery part. Okay, the COE model basically enables agility to deliver greater and faster change in cost-effective manner. Right? By having a delivery strategy, it helps with a thorough understanding of the customer strategy, reorganizes back office and IT operations, and maps as most scalable delivery option. Regardless of any model that you adopt, okay, delivery is an important part. So, for example, having a centralized service centers enable efficient pooling of costs and sharing of resources for maximum revenue generation and savings, right? So this leads to enhanced return on investment. For example, the COE strategy of a leading US company, insurance company, aligns various technologies to drive performance, applications, business services, front end and back end, as well as portfolio management. Second part is about technology. Of course, it's very important. A COE approach, okay, to evaluate current system, technology adopted by the industry, how to design interventions for end-to-end digital transformation. That is key. So you can help improve efficiencies through bolt-on non-invasive solution. That means you blend with the current environment, and then it provides scalability and system strength to cope with normal tasks. Whatever normal tasks you do, digitize it, augment it, and then you can then manage the demand in spikes and peaks according to scenario one. If this becomes more critical to be adaptable and agile. The third part is the processes, right? So the COE-led approach builds operational excellence around lean processes and strong process management. So fragmented processes can be identified. So the idea is to look at processes. If you are the productivity-centric center of excellence, right? The shared services model, or you can identify the processes that your client has, and you streamline to mitigate the gaps and perform best-in-class standards and benchmarks. So you're pooling costs, you're sharing resources, and you adopt a digital approach, and then basically you ensure that the organization that you serve through the COE have the end-to-end excellence for functional alignment and re-engineering, right? This typically happens for banks, right, who wants to centralize its operations across cross borders and all that. So when you have a lot of volume, a lot of data, a lot of transactions, definitely therein lies a need for the bank to streamline the processes for reconciliation, exception management, payment investigation, and reporting. The fourth part, it's about the data-driven environment, about analytics, right? It's definitely important, as what Prof. Sabri also mentioned, and this can effectively consolidate data across business. Managing data and information is key, right? So your COE cannot exist without proper management of data. And we say data means it consists of structured and unstructured data, right? And of course, people, last but not least, is a very important factor. Talk about leaders, you talk about junior leaders, you talk about senior leaders earlier on. So the COE strategy has to be designed in such a way that the efficient structures need to identify opportunities very quickly. The keyword is speed. The people must be fast, must be alert, must be very, very aware of the dynamics happening. So therefore, the people must be equipped with the analytics and the data side in order to make augment themselves to be fast and provide end-to-end domain expertise, right? So ultimately, the COE framework plays a vital role in driving value for niche customers, right? You get to have the knowledge, you got to keep it within domain, across sectors, you got to map it for effective use by customers. You must be able to attract new clients, increase productivity, right? Lower costs and all that. So the cost-benefit analysis must be very, very critical, for management to get support. Moving on. Now, of course, this is a very simplified structure, but it works well in an agile environment, in a nimble environment, as well as in a very, very volatile setting, right? So this is not a bulletproof structure, but it's adaptable. At the top of the list, of the food chain, right, you have the Chief Planning Officer, who is basically the full-time sponsor to carry out the COE. Now, he or she is supported by three parties from left to right. The project management team that is responsible for executing the projects, right? The second one is more towards the solution architect, the development, as well as the advisors to advise them on what needs to be done. You notice the advisory council appears at the bottom because advisory will get to see the output, the ideas, okay? And driven by the industry, driven by the Center of Excellence lead, and commenting on the architectural solutions that's provided by the the team. And then of course the third component will be the quality assurance and the support, right? For responses, for engagement, and for any technical, non-technical queries. So to have a proper COE in a university, even in a lean setting, these are the most basic functions that are typically carried out that needs to be considered in a very simplified way. I guess at the end of the day, every organization or university is different, but these are the key roles that need to be done before anybody becomes overextended without a structure like this. Okay, and then of course, what programs to be carried out? As mentioned in the first episode, we believe that universities can have a 4x4x4 approach. Okay, so you must have a clear idea of the strategic focus areas, starting at the bottom right there. So in a case of any university, for example, if they want to focus on workforce readiness, about handling unemployment issue in Malaysia, how to handle 300,000 graduates who are unemployed. So workforce readiness is about getting the people to be ready. So within track 1, you know that you have to do a lot of engagement with your stakeholders through webinars, events, through publishing white papers, through training and certification. Now we know that HRDF and various agencies are putting lots of resources to basically push the graduates to be more ready, more adaptable, and of course to drive down unemployment that's expected to happen or worsen in the coming months. And of course, all this cannot be done manually. There must be an innovation component in your COE to build expert systems that then the 4-step process, where structured and unstructured data can be analyzed through a neural network engine, such as use of natural language generation or natural language processing, build the system to analyze hundreds of thousands of people, generate insights, and then interact with the people in step 4, the stakeholders. So there has to be a system that has this 4-step process. And that cannot be possible if one party is doing it. It has to be a multi-sectoral, private-public partnership. It has to be various people involved. And that would limit costs upfront, but focus more on revenue generation in the future. So there's a model to handle that, yeah? Okay, and very quickly, before we move on to the Q&A, I'm sure that there are questions flowing in, and Prof. Rose has a lot of questions. Now, since June 2019, since we launched, we worked really, really hard. We've organized more than 100 events as a CEAI. CEAI is our Center of Excellence in AI Innovation, the first of its kind in Malaysia, but actually the center has been incubated for more than 5 years before we decided to make it more public. So it started as a best practice center of excellence, become more of innovation center, and all the other hybrid 4 models of centers we talked about. So we've organized a lot of engagements, more than 200 POC, proof of concept expert systems are being incubated across 8 eight market segments, right? And what we are seeing also is that more than 20 expert systems as we speak now are being commercialized, from healthcare to education to fintech to Islamic banking, finance to HR and so on. Right, so we see a lot of, and these are not done exclusively in our organization. This is done with partnership, and you can see in the bottom middle, the joint ownership of IP versus full ownership is 60-40. It means 60% of our expert systems are built in partnership with industries, including academia, right? And what we do best is basically to commercialize it, okay, to the public, and to embrace AI at a very low cost. The idea is to democratize AI, not to make AI inhibitive, right? And if you look at the value of IP in our portfolio to date, across all the, just on the commercialized systems, it's been valued as more than 50 million US. So you can imagine, this is unrealized. So we're talking about the base value of the IP based on FRS 38, based on the activity-based costing, based on arm's length transaction at the stage 1. When we first developed a prototype leading to commercialization. So the value of it is so great, okay? And this is only a fraction of the 200 POCs that are waiting to be commercialized, right? And the idea is, you can basically have the ROI clearly laid out. So we spend about 300,000 ringgit, for example, to renovate the center, build the equipment and all that, and that's excluding manpower. So throw in a bit of manpower and keep it lean, all that, and it's all, a lot of costs are variable in nature. So the only sunk cost we incurred would be the infra cost, right? With a bit of cloud-based infra and all that. But a lot of costs that we build, instead of expense, it's actually capitalized. So all of us, when we build this thing, financially, we have to have a very clear idea on how to build that and account for the cost. So in accounting, there's something called R&D, right? So there's the research part, which is expensed, Okay, and then there's the what we call development part, which is capitalized. So here we are, more than 15 university collaborations are still growing, and now out of the 20, 10 of the expert system we built are being spun off to become new startups, which means you can hire new people, you can bring in students, you can, you can give jobs to them, you can get lecturers to be involved in some of these projects. So we indeed, other than UMK, there are several other private universities that are with us to develop such solutions. Okay, so with that, I would like to end my conversation with these key takeaways. So we feel that PPP is the most optimal model. You can't work alone. A university can't work alone. A private sector cannot work alone, right? That's a basic message. There must be clear visibility of the vision, mission, and the focus. So the team must be aware of what's happening outside the center of excellence. Okay, so it must be very, what you call inclusive, right? You must be very aware of the dynamics. That's why I keep mentioning, I know it's unorthodox, but multi-sectoral approach is very important. And you have to work smart, okay? You have to have a nimble structure, nimble cost, okay? High ROI, and producing systems that the industry immediately wants, right? And at the end of the day, you must be flexible, right? So your 80% of your cost must be variable in nature. Spend your sunk cost, whatnot, but the variable cost must be something that is understood and adapted by the management and by the team. That means it's a very entrepreneurial journey when you want to do COE. You can't have too much fixed cost, fixed salary, or it must be more like a shared resources first at the beginning. And we start to commercialize as per any entrepreneur, then you start to scale up, right? So that's why monitoring cost is very important to manage the ROE. So with that, I would like to thank the audience for listening to me, and over to you, Prof. Ross.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Nazri. I think from Prof. Sabri to you, to Mr. Nazri, so you have crystallized actually what Prof. Sabri have said. Okay, what are the components, and you have touched about the new landscape of the COEs. Okay, the COEs of AI in particular, and how it should be implemented in the universities. Yeah. Okay. So just to echo to Prof. Sabri and to Mr. Nazri said about the policies and the standards, and this is okay. Knowing that, okay, in Malaysia, and one of the questions also posted by the audience, that we have several clusters of universities. We have the comprehensive universities, we have the focus universities, we have the research universities as well. We have basically 4 types of universities. Okay, what not to mention the polytechnics. Okay. Do you think the standards can be, how can the standards be when we have these variations of clusters of universities? Any one of you, perhaps Prof. Sabri, since you are in the academic? You need to unmute, Prof. Sabri.
All right, thank you for the questions. I think when we develop the standard and also policy, we should get involved all the category of university, focus university, RU, etc., etc. Once we get involved together, we know we can produce the great policy and also standard. And number 2, AI actually, if for example, if we using AI for teaching and learning, and definitely all university conduct the teaching and learning. So I think not the big issue in terms of different university model. But the quite important thing is we should establish policy and also standard. I think the big issue, as long as the top management have the intentions to establish AI ecosystem and solutions. From the FinB group presentations, a lot of solution I found that on the slide. And I think based on the achievement, FinB, definitely they have a lot of experience in implementing AI in some organizations. So for me, I'm not worried about the category of university, but the most important, university have intentions to implement the AI.
Okay. Right. So great. So I think the standard is just like giving a clear guidelines to all universities what they must have, a minimum requirements that they must have actually. And then of course, obviously, when you have a standards, I presume that the audits will come in to ensure all the parameters, the components are in place, and the more important is how do you implement those strategies. Yeah, okay. Back to Prof. So Mr. Nazri, yeah, okay. So we have, I have to read this one question. Okay, this is from the previous audience who also appeared today. Okay, it's actually from Ms. Rivati from Johor. Yeah, okay. So she was wondering whether the AI software used. Okay, this is one of the strategies that has been implemented in other universities. Can the AI software used on students be applied by the industries during the students' internship and the first 3 months of employment? Over you.
Yeah. Truth be told, this solution has been implemented internally and externally for organizations, not just for interns, but for scholars who are under scholarship program, interns who are going through, let's say, a 3 to 6 months FYP, capstone students, right? So traditionally, what we do is, what we've been doing traditionally is that the appraiser or the supervisor will look at them and once in a while meet up with them on a regular basis, right? And then get feedback, and then take the feedback, write a report, make the student write a report, and so on and so forth, right? So this has been the traditional way of appraising, evaluating from the supervisor standpoint. Then from the employer standpoint, they have to write a report, right, on the students and all that. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that. So there is a way to, number one, automate this whole process, right? Still have the human interaction, but the output and the feedback can be digitized, right? So when you digitize, it becomes data. When data becomes structured and unstructured, you can analyze. You can analyze them in terms of, describing the experience that the students face, even with limited information. You can describe the output that they have done so far and benchmark it against the rest, right? And then second is to find out the reasons for under or overperforming. Why is the student not motivated? Is it the environment? Is it this and that? So basically, whatever we're doing manually, right, has to be digitized. Now, when you digitize it, you can also put in some heuristics component, right? You can start, making the machine predict or prescribe action plans that need to be done based on a set of parameters. So we work with a large GLC before to handle thousands of their scholars, for example. They want to know how they fare in the 3 to 4 years of studying overseas or locally. And then based on certain parameters like, their teamwork, their communication, their problem solving skills, you notice that these are very soft skills. And of course, they then get evaluated based on their comments on the video, assessment, assignments, projects. So data can be collected, data can be analyzed, and from the analysis part, you can basically make a forward-looking prediction. So yes, this has actually been applied and continue to be applied as technology advances. So whether it's a student internship setting, whether it's a scholarship setting, whether it's a FYP capstone, or even young graduates, there's something called learning impact, right? How do you learn in school and how you apply that. So in short, such a system has 3 modules. Number one is before you enter a school, whether the course fits you well and whether the interest level matches your interest level, whether competency level meets your natural competency in that subject that you are taking on, the course that you're taking on. The second module will be about your learning experience during your university days, because that will impact your career readiness, okay? That means you find out the root of a problem. Is it because you're forced to take a course, then you go to a job, and then you are so demotivated, right, for example? So there's a second module, the learning experience. The first one is about course selection, right? The third module is basically the career readiness. So how do you align that with what the employer wants, right? So when you identify these 3 components, you are able to make better prediction of how the interns or the young graduate or the student who's leaving the workforce, right, into a temporary or internship setting, you'll be able to see what the underlying reasons and what needs to be done to address specific student versus 999 other students. So this is how AI can be used to connect the dots together and make some, assumptions very accurately and a timely basis.
I think that's jive with what you mentioned just now, the importance of to have the multi-sectorial approach. Okay, when you set up a COE or an AI adoptions in the university, you have to ensure the stakeholders, the pertinent stakeholders are there so that there will be no issues of security. But what I'm sure most of the universities afraid is that once they develop the AI systems or the software, right, when we share to the outsiders. So this is, I think, one way is the multi-sectorial approach binded between the industry and the academia can overcome these issues. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take one more questions. Okay, from Nurul Susanna, Prof. Susanna Hashim. Okay, from UMK. Right. What her question is quite lengthy actually. Basically, what is your comment on innovative approaches to design AI strategies based on the issue of possibility to call a university as a shutdown of university? A shutdown university model is the best way to keep basic academic principles, so-called free and open university. So are we ready? We are all in this AI mode. So I wanted to ask this question to Prof. Sabri actually. Do our universities, public universities actually ready to adopt and implement AI actually? Over you, any one of you, both of you can comment on this.
Oh my God, the trap questions, I think. Yeah, ready or not for public university, I think I should have to be honest with myself. Yeah, honestly, university wants to implement the AI. They have the intentions, but maybe they don't know precisely on how to implement the AI approach or strategy for the university. So there are many reasons, definitely. So, but the strong point is some university already started step by step to establish AI solution in their campus. So I think when they started, I advise, please go to the small scale to set up infrastructure, and also AI applications. Go to the small scale so that they not interrupt suddenly to other component of university. And then after they have one model success, they can implement one by one. So I think, yeah, at least they have intentions.
So Prof. Sabri, I'm sorry, I just want to check. If let's say I give you a scale 1 to 7, where do you think we are actually in terms of readiness?
1 stand for
1
what?
to 7. 1 to low readiness, 7 to readiness. So from your perceptions as a professors and academics who specialize in it, so where do you think our public universities especially stand within this scale?
Yeah, generally number 3.
Wow. Okay.
I have the same number as Prof.
Would you like to echo to that?
But they have intention to implement. I think intention is quite important.
Intention is there.
The issue is now they maybe they don't know how to implement, and also maybe they get the wrong advice by somebody that not expert on that matter.
Well, so, Mr. Nazri, UMK is lucky to have Prof. Sabri and set up the AI and big data, I think, on that note. Okay, Mr. Nazri, what is your comment on this?
I have the same score. I have the same score as Prof. Sabri, and I do have, understanding, and I visit a lot of private and public universities to their center. Some have ready infrastructure for cybersecurity with 20, 30 terminals. Some have, the renovated infrastructure, but have not carried out activities. Some have plans to adopt it, but they are using existing facilities and manpower, right? So everybody, the good news is that everybody is joining the bandwagon, right? So I don't think it's a case of FOMO, fear of missing out. I don't think so. I honestly and genuinely believe that the universities have a very acute, sharp intention, a very focused intention to move towards IR 4.0. It's not a matter of if, it's a question of when they achieve certain milestones, right? So, but I believe that the pace could be faster by adopting the right model. So we cannot adopt a traditional model of running a COE. So manpower, you cannot wait for 20 data scientists to come and then you can start doing things. No, you have to come out with a collaborative model with private sector who can lend their resources to you, right? Who can lend their resources to you and fulfill that part for future gain, right? So, but if the private sector comes to you and asks you for money upfront, or you as a university, you ask for a budget upfront, these days it will not be something that is palatable. Even you get the approval, right? That there are many obstacles that exist beyond funding, right? And the question here is then viability, right? Yeah, you can have an open and free education university model, whatnot, right? But if it's not viable, right, it will not last long either. So at the end of the day, that's why the 3S is very important, right? The third part is actually about sustainability. If you have a center, how do you sustain it in the next 3, 5, 10 years? How do you build the IPs that generate millions of dollars of value and then commercialize it into SaaS kind of monthly recoupment of the returns? So that is a tricky part that I think the private sector can play a part in helping the public sector or even the universities, right, commercialize that. So many universities have at least 100 over patents, trademarks, and an IP registered somewhere somehow. But 90% are not, or even 95% are not commercialized yet, right? So how do we do that? How do we address that part? So that again depends on what model are you achieving, right? What model are you trying to achieve based on the 4 models? Yeah, thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Okay, basically, Mr. Nazri, so I wanted to ask about the investments, but you have mentioned just now, right? Though the investment seems to be relatively high initially, but the long-term gains will be there. So people often describe in terms of the ROI, but some have forgotten about the SROI, the societal impact to the students. What are your takes about this, any one of you? Yeah.
Maybe Prof can go first.
Oh, me. All right. So I think during COVID-19 and also post-COVID-19, definitely education's changed drastically, especially in conducting, teaching, everything. So I think very difficult to measure the ROI or societal impact, but generally, once we implement the AI, so we can get the benefit in terms of spacing, physical space, no class, for example. And then we can reduce the number of lecturer maybe just provide the contents. And also, we also can reduce time. Student teaching and learning can be done flexible every time, everywhere. And the most important part, I think, when we talk about the investment and ROI, the collaboration partner between university and also industry. So let's say we have one project to do for AI solutions. UMK and FinB set up the collaborations, and then we do the project successfully. After that, for the sustainability, we market the products together. UMK and FinB market together. What this is the successful, we can show the benefit, the advantage. We implement this product, this university. We go to the university, polytechnic, even though outside of Malaysia, we can go to the ASEAN country or maybe Islamic country. We show the proof. We go together. As long as we go together, we can build the trust from the public. I think
you're talking about co-branding.
Yeah, we cannot work single, as the FinB CEO mentions. It doesn't work. Proven. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Nazri?
Yeah, from an SROI perspective, right, which we are deeply passionate about.
Yeah.
So there's a tangible and intangible aspects of it, right? So I think the social aspect of it is very important in terms of branding for the university. So if you want to be having a world-class, best-in-class, what do you call that, COE that specialize in a niche area that's supported by industries in that field, you can certainly improve your branding, not just locally, but regionally and internationally. So it's because anything to do with AI or technology is very portable. You don't have to physically carry it. It's portable, it's exportable, it's licensable, right? And it's a collaborative, very, very collaborative centric model through technological platforms and all that. So branding can be enhanced for universities, number one. Number two is that you can attract many students, or potential students to come to your university with the specialized COE that you have on a multi-sectoral basis. Nonetheless, it can be used as a means to attract students. Usually universities attract students because of the courses, right? Because of the professors, because of the research publication. But nowadays, university could consider promoting their COE that is well developed, well run, and world class, right? And with all the innovations that exist there, it could be a place for students to come in and potentially get jobs, get projects, get income, right? And get experience. And now we are moving towards experience-based model where students' educational qualification is no longer the only factor, right? It's always never been the only factor, but now it become more pronounced that you need a portfolio. So the COE can be a place to generate portfolio of experience for them. So these are some of the intangible aspects that leads to a better SROI. Because the ROI, like I said, the cost is very, very minimal upfront. Keep the cost minimal, 80% variable, 20% fixed, right? Get some funding assistance, get some sponsors, right? You have to pivot and you have to make your model very attractive for people to come to your center. So you can offer a barter trade, you can offer arrangement where you provide services to them. In return, you get their resources back. So there are innovative ways to do it, right? There could be exchange or ownership of IP, sharing of IP. So instead of I own the IP, you just do the job. No, we jointly own, we develop together, we incur our own costs. So that's the way to go, right? And this is why we believe that things like that, although general as it may seem, you need to ask the questions and the components that lay out by Professor Sabri and some of our little experience that we have to basically adapt your own model. So in this case, we welcome any form of partnerships with anybody through UMK or and government agencies to basically work together for the betterment of society. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, wow, time is really running out. So we are 12:05 now, okay? So I suppose that will conclude the presentations from both of you, or unless you want to have one last. Actually, Prof. Bala is there, right? He has one question. So I would suggest that if Prof. Bala, because the question is related to the SMEs. So if Prof. Bala, would you like to take, or because we need to extend a bit, 1 more minute? Or unless we can Prof. Bala reserve that questions to the next episode? Yeah, okay, right. So once again, I think both panels have crystallized very well about the important issues. How do we design the AI strategies and how we go about to implementing it in the higher education context? Yeah, Prof. Sabri has basically put out the overarching framework of the AI strategies process and implementations, while Mr. Nazri has actually crystallized the innovative approach of the COE's roles in the context of higher education. So on that note, once again, I thank you, Prof. Sabri, for being the guest panel today together with Mr. Nazri. Thank you very much. And to the audience there and our followers, yeah. So don't forget, stay tuned. Continue to follow us, yeah, our official UMK FB as well as the MyFinB group FB. So the next episode 3 on the 16th of June, that will be on Tuesday. So we have another guest panels. Together with Mr. Nazri, we'll discuss on the optimizing learning performance using AI. So we're going to deep diving about how the AI can benefits the higher education. So on that note, thank you very much again. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Prof. Sabri.
Thank you, Mr. Nazri. Nice. And also Prof. Rose.
Thank you. Excellent.
We'll stay on for a while.
Yeah, we hang out. Well,
Like
still hang out.
macam news apa bulletin, newscaster after the news finishes, we have to talk and chit chat,
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, okay. Like actually, Prof Bala's question is actually about the role of AI in SMEs, how we can extend in SMEs. I think you saw that question. So
yeah, I think when you talk about SMEs and startups, AI is most prevalent when you link SMEs to banks, to investors, to customers, and to employees. So in order to understand how AI affects SMEs, you got to understand the context of them versus how they get financing, them versus how they get investment, them versus how they deal with their stakeholders such as employees and shareholders, HR and all that, right? And then against the customer, how you improve the customer experience, getting markets, analyzing ROIs of market entry or exports. So all these involve information of different kind, different nature. All of these involve decision making, right? In terms of how you need to do to settle each stakeholder. So there are certainly models to enhance or improve the decision making process. It's all about decision making. How much to borrow, how much to invest, how much to get money, how much to divest, what is the value of my business, which employees are performing better, which market should I pursue, right? What sort of ROI if I go to country A versus country B, right? So all these can be done by machines that then provide the evidence-based approach to the business owner.
Mr. Dajri, you think the predicament, especially among the small industry, okay, actually the investment on AI, they want to, right? But the investment seems pretty high, right? So what do you think? What should the government provide some kinds of rebates or incentive?
I jawab soalan tu.
Oh, you want to? Okay.
Mr. Nazri ada dia punya opinion. So I think.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Number one is reskilling, including the owner of the SME. They must understand the AI first. And once they have the exposure and understand, they have the right decisions. But now they talk about AI, but they don't know so much about AI and make the wrong decisions. Right? That's all. And how to reskill and to expose
the existing employees.
They need the partner involved.
But the system part, to adopt the systems and the tools too. This is the predictable.
Prof. Rose keep harping on the cost, which I like, right? But let me answer you straightforward, okay? So there are two costing models that any SMEs or universities can adopt. One is what you call a SaaS model, no capex, but they pay like a small fee, right, to use the AI platform. So, for example, we did a survey across 200 over accounting firms and accountants, right? How much would you pay for a robo accountant to help you with analysis of statements, help in audit and all that? So the magic number is between 50 to 150 ringgit a month per month, right? To adopt
it. That sounds reasonable, isn't it?
Yes, reasonable. And then if you bring it up to the international level, a mid-sized accounting firm will pay between 100 to 150 US dollars a month, right? So pricing then becomes very uniquely set for each market. But you don't have to pay what I pay because I already paid for it. I already paid the infra. What my partners and what other users or partners want to do is that they don't pay the capex. They just utilize the monthly charge. It's like this is what the model people are moving towards. IBM also has moved into selling ERP system into SaaS model. They call it software as a service, right? So that's number one, right? So you must make AI affordable. So this is something that I didn't want to elaborate so much because I want people to understand first the components, the ROI, and I mean the principle, the philosophy, right? The implementation. But that's the way the industry decides. People are paying between 50 to 150 for a basic level service. For you to taste on a volume basis, that's what they afford to do. They're willing to do. But would they pay or SMEs and micro, would they pay thousands of dollars a month, 50,000 a month? Not likely, but GLCs would pay, right? Agencies, because that would like running 20-man team, but with AI, you just pay a fraction of that. So it's all about cost benefit, as you say. AI must be, any AI adoption must cost at least 15 to 20% of a set of manpower. Then it becomes very, very, interesting for them. Yeah. So that means that if you take 5 people to do and it costs X dollars, AI would only cost 15 to 20% of that, and 6 times faster. That's the cost ROI. Not just dollars and cents, but the speed. Right? So this is something we've been educating people for like 14 over years, and it either threatens people or it encourages and inspires people, right? So this is the
models.
Right?
I'm not sure whether Mr. Khairuddin is still there now, who are very IT savvy. Mr. Khairuddin, are you still there looking that? Oh, I think he has left, yeah, okay. So it was really great session. I think what the point that you said just now, there are various models looking to address the cost or investment on AI, which we need to educate the SMEs, especially even the universities. If university, whenever Prof. Sabri said, okay, we have to invest this much, wow, it's kind of like a big shock, right? Okay, but I think the model, how do we spread the cost, by calculating the number of students that we have, so I think it is feasible.
I think a caveat to my statement is that, of course, funding is important. So, but somebody must have funded it first. Somebody must have developed it first before making it available to others. So in our case, because of our huge investments over the past many years, right, we are able to move fast, save costs, and then make available to the public. Like students, I say, they want to have an automated CV, automated mentor placement, career planning, learning impact. You can just charge them RM1 or RM5. Okay, they can get a quarterly service or monthly service that guide them throughout the thing. So nothing stops them from a fraction of their mobile phone cost, to basically have a future through this, right? So I think this is something. It's not about affordability. That is not the issue. As long as somebody have invested in it, somebody has built around it, and you just have to modify and leapfrog it to your setting. That is fine.
Dr. Hacharanjit Singh is still there. Well, we give some views there. Right. Prof. Sabri, I was just wondering, okay, you mentioned just now in your policy, we should have an AI center in the university. Whereas in most of universities, all universities, basically, they do have the IT center. So why can't we just extend the role of the IT center so that they also can take up the role of AI? Is it necessary to have another AI center? And on the same time, we have the IT centers? I mean, you are the experts, Professor.
So I think we should clear. National level, we have AI national level as a reference. In the university level, actually, we can cascade the AI initiative from the ministry to the university through the ICT. We just reskill the existing staff, reskilling, and giving education of AI for them. And no need to create the special.
Use another center, right? Okay, so just extend or rebranding the AI, the ICT center.
Some university they have the center of excellence in AI,
like in UMK, for example.
But this one is not the service. This is the R&D center, not the service. Service is ICT center. Right, just rebrand, reskill, and re-educate them. That's all.
Mr. Khairul Hakimi, you're still there. You want to pose any questions directly to the panels that are still around?
Yeah, Assalamualaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Waalaikumsalam.
Yeah, okay. Congratulations to the UMK and the moderator, Prof. Dr. Roslina, and two panelists. Very good discussion today. Let me share regarding, I'm from the industry, from the Mofas Masjid Kota Baru. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Right. So this is a very good discussion today. As me as an industrial player in Kota Baru, so we have a several sessions with the UMK on this rakan industry also. But then as an industrial player in Kota Baru, especially on we are working on the high technology regarding on our automotive cars. As an example of the Mercedes models, right? We have the high tech technology tools, everything, and then we have previously we have several difficulties on this, especially on the connection because we use most the tools and diagnosis for our cars is a high tech technology. So currently what we do we do a collaboration with this as example with the Telecom Malaysia to help us on this to upgrade on this connection everything because we need that such of a good connection. But in terms of these AIs as an industry player, me as well, so I have a very good ideas and thoughts from the two expert panelists today. And my thank you for the UMK and these two panelists today. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Cik Khairul. We can certainly have a specialized discussion on AI in automotive industry, right? There's a lot of case studies of AI companies in Israel, in China, in US, that manage to, for example, utilize AI to be planted in the car that they are driving, right? And analyze the patterns of traffic, analyze your driving style, analyze your speed, your level of safety and whatever not, and then they link it up with the insurance. I think there's a big insurance company in Africa called Discovery. So they do a lot of AI technology that links insurance with automotive industry. Very creative. We hope to share with you some of these things. Perhaps if you join the free, what do you call it, AI community, AIC, we will probably share some information and case studies that we've done before, studying how AI affects automotive industry or vehicles, autonomous vehicles for that matter. Thank you, Cik Khairul.
Got it. Roros sounds.
We can have one webinar specialized on the AI in automotive industry because Cik Nazri are one of our faculty council of strategies, Dato' Aisyah. I'm sure you know that, yeah? Dato' Aisyah?
Yes.
Yeah, the president of the Automotive Malaysia, and now she is the corporate director at some IOI or SMW. No. So she's with us at the faculty. Yeah, she's the strategist, our board of strategists for the faculty. So maybe we can have that one.
It can be part of episode 5 probably. More work for you.
We can.
With regards to manufacturing, or we can call it automotive 4.0 or manufacturing 4.0.
Yeah, that would be excellent. Yes, yes.
The latest technologies in the manufacturing 4.0 side. Yeah.
But I think more relevant, I'm not sure, Cik Nazri, have you spoken to address AI to small industry? I think that is very pertinent. In Malaysia, especially, the economy is driven by the small industry. I'm not just mentioning about the medium is okay, they are quite well taken, but the small and the micro, they do want to go for this new technology, but they think that, I mean, the perceptions that they have that is so expensive. But as you said just now, if we can look in from different models of investment. So perhaps that will be a good series to have.
When it comes to funding, we also help to advise SMEs and micro enterprise on the various ways to get it funded. It could be directly, indirectly, but of course there must be commitment from the business owners, right? But there's also HRDF. We can turn the AI thing into a training-linked HRDF subsidized program. And by learning, you are then adopting, and we can throw in the AI the use of AI as part of the training.
Upskilling, reskilling, yes.
For example, right? So there are ways to do that. And then if you partner with universities and we collectively get funding or sponsors, if it's a project that has a lot of high SROI, I'm sure with the zakat, wakaf, and CSR funds that
Mm.
corporates have, we can build applications, right? So, like for example, AI system, and guide me on this one, Prof. Sabri. You know, wakaf ilmu, for example. You know, the AI system can be wakafkan, boleh diwakafkan if structured properly, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
as long as it shows that it helps low-income people or students or families with special needs children, and that system is able to empower, generate a socio-economic roadmap. You know, 10 ways how to improve the financial status, socio-economic status of
Yeah, we
people.
can do by crowdsourcing everything.
Exactly. So we just have to, you know, be creative, innovative.
Creative, yes, that's right. Yeah, I agree with
So
you.
don't let funding come in the way, because funding, if structured properly, can be obtained. Then keep the funding, keep the cost small, right? And keep a lot of it variable. Kalau talent tak cukup, kita kumpulkan semua pakar-pakar dalam bidang, you know, different sector, get together. So we are what we are. UMK is strong in what they are. Combine together. As long as there's a high impact upfront that we know that can be achieved in the long term, medium to long term, then we are fine.
Yep.
So any barriers that you think of, you dah boleh remove kan. High cost, not really. Not enough expertise, boleh pasang, you know, boleh induskan pakar, right? Long implementation, no. It can be, we have many applications and many systems can be adapted, right? From HR, non-HR, finance, non-finance, across sector.
Yeah,
Is
that's
it
right.
complicated? Do you have to learn programming? No, you don't have to learn programming, because the programmers, the coders already thought of this already. You just have to use only and then make decisions quickly, right? Is it long implementation? Is it take 1-2 years to do? No, it take weeks and months, right? At best, weeks, right?
Now,
Basically,
nampak dia
Agree.
tak nak dia nampak tak nampak je.
Yeah.
Kena educate. Dia tak jelas.
Yeah, they want, but yeah, I think to educate them very important. Yeah.
Minded change dulu number one.
Yeah, mindset change. Yeah. Cik Khairul, you are in the state government, is it? Cik Khairul from the industry in the state Kelantan, yeah, Cik Khairul? I just want to ask him, okay, how do you see Kelantan? Is Kelantan ready to go for this new technology?
Oh, moderator, soalan berat.
Prof Arham is still around there. Prof Arham, how are you? Our TNC DVI.
Hi.
Hi,
I'm
Prof.
driving.
Arham.
I'm driving.
Oh, you're driving. Are you going to KL or what? Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
I'm
Okay,
meeting Putrajaya.
okay, drive safely then, right? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I think there was an excellent episode today we discussed. Thank you so much again to Mr. Nazri and Prof. Sabri. So we'll meet you. So the next sessions will be, I won't be moderating the next session, Cik Nazri, or do you still want me to moderate? The first two, Prof. Sabri will moderate it, yeah. So I will see you again in the 4th episode.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Ozlina, for the awesome moderation.
No problem at all.
Yeah, and we'll be happy to welcome you in any way or form. Any episode, you also come, no problem.
No problem. Yeah, I'm honored. Yeah, thank you very much.
We need a rose amongst the thorns.
Yeah, right. Okay. Okay, thanks a lot. All right, have a good day. Okay.
Thanks, Prof. Sabri. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks to everybody.